So, without further ado, let me crack on. So welcome to the Art of Letting Go presentation. As you can see, it's about how to let go and find your flow in life. Let me explain exactly what flow means. So the full title of the webinar is How to Let Go of Any Stressful Thought or Emotion in Minutes and Find Your Flow in Life without having to do another webinar for your personal growth or healing ever again. That's what I'm going to be showing you tonight. And my promise is that this will be the last webinar we'll ever need to do. Okay. I'm just going to mute you. I think it's Melly. I'm just going to mute you because there's a lot of background noise coming through. Okay. So just quickly, the goals of today's session, what I want to cover. So I want to share 3 stress-busting, life-changing secrets with you. I'm going to show you why learning to let go of your negativity is really the only way that you'll ever be authentically happy, find your flow in life, and experience what I call true success. And I'll talk about what true success is and means. Then I'll explain how the Art of Letting Go course can help you to let go and find the authentic happiness, fulfilling flow, and true success that you want and deserve, and tell you how and when you can do the course. So there's quite a lot of information we've got to get through up front, and then towards the end I'll talk about how the Art of Letting Go course works. So just a quick question. It's a rhetorical question, you don't have to ask it, but just pause a moment and think to yourself what your answer is to this question. Why are you here today? And you must be here because you're looking for something. We don't do anything unless there's something we think we're going to gain from it. So there's a seeking. And you may think that you're looking for better health, or perhaps it's more wealth, or perhaps better relationships, perhaps just a less stressed life. But ultimately, what you're looking for and what everyone's looking for, any guesses? Must be, drum roll, any ideas? It must be happiness. We're all looking for happiness, aren't we? And what we do is we think that certain things that we do and certain things that we acquire are going to make us happy. And so we put often an enormous amount of time and energy into acquiring those and to seeking those goals, really in the search for happiness, because we think that those are the means to acquire, to get happiness, which isn't true. It isn't actually correct. So why haven't you found lasting happiness then? Is the question. And there are a couple of reasons for that. It's because you're looking in the wrong place, and that's not your fault. We are conditioned by society to look in the wrong place. Our whole world is set up to get us to look in the wrong place for happiness. Our world is an external world. We have a whole economy designed to give us things, which we can buy, we can work hard, we can make money, we can buy these things that are supposed to make us happy. And so our whole society, our whole economy is geared up for that. And there's also a lot of false information out there. So not too long ago, I read had six top secrets or tips for success that some American personal development guru was putting out there, and I downloaded these. And you guess what his #1 secret was? It was ambition. #1, top of the list, was ambition. That in my view is a delusion. That's just not true. It's leading people down the wrong track. A couple of thousand years, 2,500 years ago, there was a guy called Buddha who spent his life teaching people this new teaching, which came to be called Buddhism. And he taught for no money. There was no financial gain in it. He was just a wandering teacher, and people gave him alms sometimes, but there was no financial reward for it. And he taught quite the opposite. He said that desire is the source of all suffering. So ambition is just another form of desire. Desire is the source of all suffering, and we kind of that teaching has stood the test of time over the last 2,500 years. So who are you going to believe? The personal growth guy who's you're obviously making a lot of money from his teachings and is definitely financially rewarded for putting these things out there, or this very ancient teachings, ancient wisdom that stood the test of 2,500 years and still continues to help people to live a happier, a more peaceful, more fulfilled life. I don't think there's really a question. So there's a lot of misinformation out there in spiritual circles and personal growth circles. So if you haven't found lasting happiness yet, it's not really surprising. Because we think that we'll be happy, what we're conditioned to believe in this world is we think we'll be happy when we have better or more of stuff, external stuff. So that might be health and fitness. So we're bombarded with images of healthy, fit bodies. It might be money. So things that money can buy, nice cars, fancy clothes, a lifestyle, nice house, special relationships, and what goes with that is sex. And you know that sex is used to sell almost anything today. So that's a major illusion that we are conditioned to buy into. Mr. or Mrs. Right. Travel on holidays. So we think that we'll be happier when we go somewhere else for a holiday, maybe temporarily, for the time that the holiday lasts. Mike's just been on holiday. I'm sure it was a lovely experience, but wherever you go, there you are. You're still there. You've still got your mind to deal with, and you tend to carry your mindset and your problems around with you. There's a great saying that says, wherever you go, there you are. So that's not a permanent solution. It might be a temporary solution to make you temporarily happier. But it's not permanent because you can't spend your life on a permanent holiday. And then various pleasurable experiences. So fine wine, dining, whatever you term as, or whatever you class as pleasure in this world. And all of these things are what we're told to go and seek, and these are the sources of our happiness. The problem with the strategy is that it's not going to work. And why isn't it going to work? The reason it's not going to work is because none of those things are permanent. And they don't last. Tunde's joined us. Hi, Tunda. I won't unmute you, but yeah, just pick up with us. We've just started. You haven't missed very much. So none of these things are really going to last. If we're attached to them, sooner or later they're not going to be there. Money comes and goes. Relationships come and go. Anything in this world is not permanent by definition. So if we make it the source of our happiness, it's a very frail strategy, a very weak strategy, because sooner or later those aren't going to be there. And if we're attached to these, if we have this desire, then we're going to suffer when we don't have these things. So this is how this chap called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who's the author of a lot of books on the concept of flow. He coined the term flow, which has come into the lexicon of modern psychology. And this is what he has to say, just echoing what a lot of great spiritual teachings and teachers have said over the years. To know oneself is the first step toward making flow a part of one's entire life. But just as there is no free lunch in the material economy, nothing comes free in the psychic one. If one is not willing to invest psychic energy in the internal reality of consciousness, and instead squanders it in chasing external rewards, one loses mastery of one's life and ends up becoming a puppet of circumstances. So he says it very clearly. In other words, attachment to external things, chasing external rewards, is really squandering your psychic energy, squandering this amazing consciousness that you have, and that will mean that you lose mastery of your life. You end up becoming a puppet or a victim of circumstances. And so the more we attach to these external things as sources of our happiness, the more that we really enslave ourselves. That's what he's saying. You might recognize that little clip. It's actually from the movie. It's a little clip from the movie The Matrix. There's Neo's head, and he's looking up at the lintel. He's seeing the oracle, and she points to the sign, and she says, "Do you know what that means?" And he says, "No." And she says, "It means know thyself. Temet noske, know thyself," which is the ancient injunction of all great spiritual teachings. and originally religions. Know thyself. Who are you? What are you? That's what it's all about. And that message hasn't changed, and it never will change. No matter how much technology we get, no matter how far and fast the world advances and how fast our pace of life becomes, there will still be this underlying quest in every human being to know themselves. And so how do you begin that quest? And really self-discipline is the key. Self-discipline is the key to happiness, as this chap Charles Glasson said. Happiness often relies on just one character trait, self-discipline. And what does that self-discipline entail? Really what it entails, and this is what I'm talking about tonight, is letting go. How do you let go of any negative thought or emotion? And so I'm going to take you through a process right now where I'm going to show you how you can let go of any negative thought or emotion in a matter of a few minutes. It's a two-step letting go process. So pretty simple, but don't mistake simplicity for something that's not powerful, because it's extremely powerful. So just want you to close your eyes, put away anything that's distracting you, switch off your phone, make sure you don't get disturbed by anything around you for the next, say, 5 minutes. Close your eyes, sit up straight in your chair, cup your hands in your lap, and just start breathing. So breathing in and out through your nose. Breathing in, breathing out. Just connecting with your breathing, noticing how the belly rises and how it falls. You inhale, just imagine you inhaling relaxation. And as you exhale, you're exhaling any stress, any tension. Just letting these things go. So take another couple of deep breaths. Breathing in, imagine you breathing in relaxation, and it's coming into your chest. Imagine breathing this really warm, heavy, relaxed feeling into your chest. It's spreading out from your chest throughout your whole body, into your head, into your arms, down into your legs, into your feet. And as you exhale, just letting go of any stress, any tension. So consciously letting the tension go in your neck and shoulders. You can wiggle your neck and shoulders around. One more deep inhale breath. Breathe into those areas. Breathe into your neck and shoulders. And hold the breath briefly. Just feel this relaxation flowing through every cell and every muscle in your body. Completely relaxing your neck and shoulders. And then as you exhale, just consciously letting go of any stress, any tension, just releasing it. And so you should be feeling quite nice, clear, open, aware. Just kind of cleared your mind to open to this process and what you're going to learn tonight. So breathe in again, take a nice deep inhale. And I want you to just become aware of something that's been bothering you. Maybe it's something minor, something with a colleague at work, maybe your partner, your spouse, maybe an issue with one of your kids. Usually got something to do with other people, like a person and a relationship. So something that's bugging you, that's niggling you, that's irritating you, it's making you maybe even angry. Just pick something not too major, I'd suggest. So, not a major trauma in your life or death or bereavement. Just something that's been bothering you over the last few days or week. And just become aware as you carry on breathing. Just keep noticing your breathing in and out through your nose. Nice deep, slow inhales and exhales. Noticing how the belly rises and falls. Just let that create some awareness. Just be aware of the thought and of the emotion. So how are you thinking about this? What does that thought feel like? So what emotional quality does it have? Start to tune into that. Maybe there's a bit of a contraction in your tummy, in your chest. Maybe you feel kind of tight. Maybe there's a kind of a resistance. It feels like something kind of grating on your consciousness. Just tune into how it feels. And now that you've noticed that, you probably have noticed that it's not very pleasant. This isn't something that you really want to be feeling. So the second step in this process is just to make a decision to let it go. So you've noticed it, you've said to yourself, this isn't nice, isn't happy, and you don't really want it. So step 2 is to choose to let it go consciously. It's a decision. Consciously choose to let it go. So breathe in. To help you do that, breathe in. Imagine you breathing a lovely golden or white light into your heart center. It's flowing into your heart center. It's filling up your whole chest. And it's dissipating any kind of dark feeling and energy there. So you can visualize this energy as a kind of dark gray or murky brown or black energy. And as you breathe in this light, it's being dissipated. Because when you bring in the light, the darkness has to go. And then as you exhale, imagine that you're releasing. You're letting go of this dark energy and the thought and the emotion that goes with it. It's just releasing into nothingness. Because these things really are nothing. Breathe in again. Nice deep inhale into your chest. Imagine this light growing in intensity and brightness, filling up your whole chest, your tummy, going into your head. Your whole upper body is filled with this light, every cell and every muscle. And you're just feeling lighter, clearer, more aware, more peaceful, more relaxed. As you exhale, nice deep exhale, out your nose again, and imagine that this feeling is completely leaving you. So any negativity, stress, tension, contraction, that really not very nice feeling is just dissipating and leaving you as you exhale. It's going to nothingness that it always was. One more deep inhale. Imagine the light flowing into your chest, into your heart center. As you hold the breath briefly, imagine it spreading out to your whole body. So up into the crown of your head, down into your abdomen, down into your legs, and right down to the tips of your toes. Your whole body is just filled with this light. You're feeling light, clear, aware. And as you exhale, just imagine sharing that. So you sharing that light with anyone in your immediate vicinity, in your home, in your suburb, in your city, and the whole country, the whole continent, the whole world. And that means that you're sharing with everyone who's connecting tonight, because there's no limit in space and time to this light. So we're all nicely connected now in that light. And that is going to help you have a much an enhanced experience tonight. So just maybe set that intention. So you created some space, some openness. Just say that to this light, this spirit, whatever you want to call it, that show me what I need to learn tonight. You give that invitation, and you open your mind to something amazing, hopefully. So on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just bring your attention back into your body, noticing how your body's feeling compared to, say, 5 minutes ago before you started this process. Feeling lighter, clearer, more relaxed. Just tune into that and try and keep some awareness through your breathing. Just keep some awareness on your breath and your body for the rest of the session. And just staying connected to your breathing. 2, just becoming aware again of your surroundings. What are you feeling, touching, tasting? There's a subtle taste in your mouth, smelling, and of course hearing. So there's sounds in your surrounding area. Just tune into those. Just bringing yourself back into sense awareness. But again, just keeping a little bit of awareness on the breath and on this lovely, clear, open space within which all this information that I'm sharing is going to be received. And if you're in that state, more likely to receive it with an open mind and for it to go in on a level that's very helpful for you. And 3, just open your eyes. spend a few seconds just looking around, just clocking your surroundings, and just noticing how you're feeling. So noticing how clear and light and aware you feel. Your perception should be very clear, should be not a lot of thoughts going on, which is very helpful. So just a quick tip I didn't mention in the actual process, but if you struggle to let go of the thinking mind, what you can do is just open your eyes, raise your eyes to the ceiling. So look up to the ceiling, take a nice deep breath. Let's try it now. And you should notice as you do that, that your mind just becomes clear, kind of blanks. And so it's a great way to just stop the thinking mind in an instant. Now, if you don't have time for a few minutes doing this two-step letting go process, just doing that single breath, maybe a couple of breaths looking at the ceiling can really, really help. So I hope that was good. Feel free to chuck any comments in the chat. In fact, I might just to make sure you're still there. Yeah, how was that? How was that for everyone? Tanda, you with us? You're still with us. And Mike, you with us? Excellent there. I can hear Melly. And Tando, are you with us?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Excellent. Welcome. So yeah, I hope you caught that. You just caught us in the middle of the process. Someone's put up their hand. Chat. Let's have a look. How was that? Tando's there. Great. So I hope you enjoyed that. So there's a little process that you can use any time to let go of negativity. You know, that was 5 minutes, but you could do it in a minute or two. And if you're really short of time, you can just look up, take a couple of breaths, look to the ceiling, and that should help you to kind of clear your mind and blank your mind. And I will send you an enhanced version of this. It's a 10-step letting go process after this webinar, which takes you through to 10 specific steps, which are very, very powerful. So that's my free gift to thank you for coming tonight. Okay, so let's crack on because we've got a lot to get through. Tando, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat in the Q&A panel. I'm going to mute you guys because there's a bit of sound feedback coming through. So there we go. Okay, both muted. Cool. Okay, so who am I? I haven't really introduced myself. I'm not going to talk about the kind of deeper spiritual truth of who I am, because that's very difficult to even talk about. But I'll just talk a little bit about my life, my journey so far, how I come to be doing this, so you have an idea of context and why I'm doing this. I guess my sort of journey of personal growth, spiritual growth started when I was 12. Started reading various books that my sister would get. She was quite ill at the time. She had something called ME. Well, it actually wasn't ME, it was something else, but they misdiagnosed it as that. So chronic fatigue syndrome, and she would just get these books to try and inspire her. And when she'd read them, she would pass them on to me. And I'd read them. So at a very young age, I was exposed to some really positive, inspirational material and ideas. And I decided at the age of 13 that this is the way I wanted to live my life. These things offered me a life, inspiration that I just didn't see otherwise, and which my father was and is a very conservative man. He was a headmaster. Just didn't share. It was a totally different philosophy of life. So I made the decision at the age of 13 that I wasn't going to follow that way. I was going to do the opposite, and that's, I guess, shaped my whole life. They say you either become like your parents or you do the opposite. In my case, it was the opposite. I was a pretty good squash player as well, so I decided that I was going to apply this expansive thinking to my squash career, and I was going to become the world champion. There was no use settling for less than number one. So that was my goal from the age of 12, 13. I wanted to become a world champion, and that really inspired me. I did my school. Was pretty bright, got a couple of scholarships, and as you do, I went to university in Cape Town, which I probably shouldn't have done if I was really serious about becoming a world champion, because I should have turned professional straight away. You don't have that many years. But I'm not sorry I did it. I learned a lot. So I went to university, but I continued to nurture this dream of being the world champion. At university, I had probably my first spiritual experience, which really opened the doors to what's happened subsequently. It was in my fourth year of university. A friend of mine had given me a book on Christianity to read. Was basically saying, is Christianity true or not? Is Jesus a fraud? Is he a charlatan, or is he authentic? Was he what he said he was? And so I was reading this book. At the time, I suppose I was an atheist. I was pretty much believed in science as the ultimate truth. And this book just spoke to me on some level. There was a resonance. And suddenly I was like, actually, what it's saying makes a lot of sense. And then this sort of light came, and I just saw this amazing light in the room, and I felt this weight or this pressure on my chest for a couple of minutes. And there was a lot more light in the room than there should have been, because it was just one little bulb, in a pretty big loft area. And so I saw something else. There was another kind of reality, another dimension, if you like, that I touched in that moment. And I guess I could never fully believe that this was all there was after that, this reality that we can see, feel, touch, taste, and perceive was all there was. So that opened my eyes to another domain. Up to then, I'd read really personal growth books about, how to achieve, how to become better in this life, how to make stuff happen, and your life is only worthwhile if you achieve something great. Then I started really to inquire. I decided I'd read the whole Bible. I read the New Testament several times, and I started on really a journey of spiritual inquiry to try and, I guess, discover who am I? What is it all really about? I decided to turn professional at the end of squash, and at the end of my university career, and things weren't all sweetness and light there either. So put a lot of pressure on myself to win. I remember feeling a lot of fear because of the self-created pressure. And one particular experience stands out, so I'm going to share it with you because it's really about flow, and that's a major theme of tonight's presentation. So about 6 months after I turned professional, I was due to play a league match in Johannesburg against the other side in my club. There were two first league sides. It was the Transvaal Automobile Club, or Killarney Country Club as it's now known. And so I was due to play this guy, and I played him a couple of months earlier in the club champs. He was an older guy, he was in his late 30s, who'd been a good player. He'd been ranked in the top 10 in the country, but he was now, past that. So in my mind, I was like, I should be killing this guy, I should be beating him. But the squash had played on the court, not on paper, and I had lost him 3-0. So I remember feeling really nervous and anxious the whole time, the whole day. And this anxiety just grew and grew. Towards the end of the day, I was due to play an evening match. I decided to go for a walk to just try and relax. Went with my sister. It was quite a nice evening. So why don't you just relax? You started playing squash because you enjoyed it. So why not just go in with that attitude, just enjoy it, and it doesn't really matter. And that attitude did make a lot of sense to me, but it was very difficult. I found it extremely difficult to let go. Somehow I managed to keep my mind blank. I didn't think about my strategy, although part of my mind was going, come on, you got to plan, you got to think, you got to strategize. Another part was just saying, just don't think, just go on completely empty. So I managed to go on in that state of no mind, empty mind. And I played amazingly. I had this amazing experience where it wasn't like I was playing, it just sort of happened. It happened to me or through me. I played amazing squash, very creative. Needless to say, I won the match 3-0. That wasn't really the point. It showed me that there was this state of flow, which I didn't even understand what that was at that point, but that you could go beyond fear, you could transcend fear and anxiety, and you could find a state of flow and of connection to this higher state. And I felt liberated. I felt like I transcended this imprisonment of my own self-created fear, and I never went back into that same level of fear and anxiety. So it really did change my whole career, and in fact my whole life, because it gave me an idea that there's something more, that these kind of higher expanded states are possible. So there's me as a young squash player in my late teens, and then I decided in the sort of early, I went over to England, decided to go to England to try and improve my squash. While I was in England, I learned to meditate because I thought that would help my squash. The Transcendental Meditation course. My teacher gave me a book on breathing, breath work, how to breathe while you training and playing. And so I taught myself to breathe through my nose, which was my first introduction to breath work. And I was meditating twice a day. So I think that really opened me up spiritually to start exploring. And I had to come back from the UK because of visa issues. So I came back here and I started exploring. I started looking at all kinds of religions. I started reading books, more spiritual books like Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, books by Deepak Chopra, Byron Katie, Wayne Dyer. You may have heard of some of these authors and read them yourself. And that really opened me up to something else. At the same time, I had to let go of this dream of being a professional squash player and being the world champion, because I remember losing to this chap. I was in my late 20s. He wasn't particularly good. He was in the top 20 in the country, but he certainly wasn't a world beater. And I didn't play particularly well that day, and I lost him in practice. I just remember sitting next to the court, the same court that I had the flow experience on a few years earlier, and just kind of going, you're kidding yourself. This isn't going to happen. You've got to get real. You're not going to be the world champion. And so there was a major letting go opportunity. I had to let go of that whole dream, which had kept me going for about 15 years, and carry on with my life. And I sort of found this strange sense of emptiness and peace and even relief in not having this driving ambition or this driving goal anymore, which was kind of strange. I didn't really know what to make of it. But I was reading these books at the same time. And so it started to make sense. I started to put the pieces of the puzzle together and go, okay. So a lot of these books like Power of Now, talking about just letting go, not visualizing the future, not going into the future, just being present, just staying in the now. And that kind of correlated with the experience that I was having. And so I started to go more into kind of spiritual domain and leave behind the idea that I had to achieve, that I had to do something amazing in order to make my life worthwhile. But still, I wasn't getting the full picture. I felt like I wasn't getting the whole truth from any of these books. So I come across the teachings of a book called Course in Miracles. People have mentioned it. I've been seeing it in quotes. And in 2006, I came across the book in a bookshop. I bought it and I started reading it. And I'm still reading it 13 years later. It's an extremely profound teaching. And it's something that's kept me busy for the last 13 years and continues. I read it every day. It's got some amazingly profound wisdom. And that gave me the answers that I was looking for. It gave me the truth. It's not always an easy truth to accept, but it did give me the truth. Hi, welcome, Caitlin. I'm just going to crack on because we're in the middle of it, but hope you can hear me. If you can't, just put something in the chat. I then decided to take what I'd learned from all my studies and teaching the Course in Miracles, which I did in small groups for a number of years. And I started to run retreats and workshops and seminars. That's a retreat that I ran in Mozambique, a dolphin swimming retreat there. I'm swimming with dolphins. So I did a lot of those kind of things. Did a number of those, did weekend workshops in Johannesburg, did one-day workshops in Joburg, breathing workshops, meditation workshops. Did that for a number of years. And then in 2013, decided to go to London. A friend of mine was starting a business and he needed some help with marketing. And this is what I did. I marketed my own events. I said, come over and help me. So that's me in London with my, she wasn't my wife then, she's my wife now. That's where I met her. So we got married, had a child. I moved over to the UK in 2016, basically left my life here behind, the business that I built, started a new kind of career in corporate finance, and then I got into small business consulting, financial consulting, selling card payment solutions to businesses. I still continue to run some workshops. There I am running a breathwork workshop in Shaftesbury, which is in North Dorset. And there I am in corporate mode. So what happened, I guess, over the last few years was, I guess you would call it a midlife crisis for me. So much change. I left my old life behind. I had to basically let go of my old persona, my old identity, the friends I had here, the networks, the career I built, and go into a different environment, move countries. I got married, which is a major life change, had a son, and changed careers. And I think all that change, precipitated a lot of difficult emotions. So had to work through fear, anger, frustration, even hatred, resentment. All these things came up. And the way I did it was I found that Course in Miracles, this profound book, it had all the answers. It wasn't always easy applying them. But the teaching is very clear. You have to let go of any negative thought and emotion. In a similar way to what I've just shown you with the two-step letting go process, just by becoming aware of it and then making a conscious choice to let it go. It's easier said than done. So I practiced the techniques that I teach on myself, taught them to other people, and they definitely work. They're not always easy. They don't always work instantaneously, particularly if something's deep-seated. But if you persist, you can truly let go of anything, of any negative thoughts or emotion. So I'm back in South Africa for a bit, and sorry, just to rewind. Last year I ran this as a pilot. In September, ran a pilot program to the Art of Letting Go course, just to test out, how it would be if I was teaching online, and it worked very well. We had people in South Africa, we had people in the UK, we had some people in the US. And they all joined via this platform, Zoom. We did discussion sessions, we did meditations based around the teachings of the Course in Miracles. And so I tested the Art of Letting Go course, as I call it, online, because this was really the direction I wanted to move in, rather than staying in the financial world. Since then, put it online. You've seen the marketing, which is how you come to be here. And the next course is happening in September, so I'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's a little bit of my journey and my story of how I come to be doing this, and I hope it gives you an insight into some of the things I want to talk about. So Course in Miracles, you might have heard of it. I'll assume you haven't really, so I'll just go from scratch. Talk about it as though you don't know anything about it. What is A Course in Miracles? First of all, it's a book. It's a book transmitted by Jesus, who made himself known as Jesus, to this lady. She was an American academic psychologist named Helen Schuckman between 1965 and 1972. So how the course started was one day she was driving with her boss. He was a guy by the name of Bill Thetford. He was head of the psychology department at the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons, which is associated with Columbia University. And there was a lot of conflict in that academic environment. They had these disciplinary hearings regularly. And he just lamented in the car. He said, there must be a better way. Surely there must be a better way than all of this conflict and this fighting, and I'm tired of it. There must be a better way. And Helen agreed with him. She said, yes, I agree, there must be a better way, and I'll help you find it. So that was kind of an invitation to Spirit, to what the Course calls the Holy Spirit, to show them a better way. So she then started having vivid dreams where she saw this figure of Jesus. He started speaking to her in her waking hours as well, giving her some very helpful advice, because she was quite a highly strung person, quite anxious, and so he would kind of tell her to calm down, and he would give her helpful things that related to her life, helpful bits of advice. And then in October of that year, one day, this voice of Jesus just kept saying, "This is A Course in Miracles, please take notes." So she got a bit freaked out. She phoned Bill. She told him about this voice. So what's happening? He said, well, I don't know, but maybe you should just do what it says and just write it down. And so that's what she started doing. She wrote down what the voice said. She took it into him the next morning, and he looked at it and he read, and he said, well, Helen, I don't know where you got this stuff from, but it's definitely not you. It was extremely profound. It was way beyond her spiritual knowledge. And so the process continued, this process of kind of dictation. They would transcribe it for about 7 years. And it got published eventually in 1976 as a book called A Course in Miracles in 3 volumes. So what is it? It's a systematic mind training course to teach you a radically different way of thinking about and perceiving everything from a non-dual perspective. So it's about changing the way you think and changing the way you perceive, and looking at it from this idea that actually there's not really any separation. Non-dual means there's not two, but there's only really one consciousness, there's only really one idea, there's only really one love, and you reinterpret everything from that perspective. It's designed to teach you how to forgive or to let go of every false belief, thought, and emotion that causes you and others to suffer. So I use the term letting go because I think it's more descriptive of what the actual process involves, but you could also use the term forgiveness, which is what the Course uses. And the Course is really just helping us to let go of our false beliefs and how they show up in thought and emotion. And those cause us to suffer, and they cause us to make others suffer as well. And it's a spiritual path that will allow you to live happily, peacefully, and lovingly. In other words, in flow. So all of that together I call flow. And ultimately attain enlightenment. So it's pointing us to a transcendent state of mind that is beyond this world. It's saying there's another reality where there is only happiness, there's only love, there's only peace, there's only joy. And fear and hatred and anger and all the things we see showing up so often in this world simply don't exist there. And that's the state of enlightenment. He's saying you can attain that while you're still here. You can get your mind into that state consistently by practicing this practice of forgiveness or letting go. So that's what the Course involves. What is it? It's in 3 parts. There's a text to it, about 670 pages, which explains in detail the principles and the philosophy in which the Course is based. There's a workbook made up of 365 daily lessons designed to systematically train your mind how to let go of its negativity and allow you to live in a miraculous state of mind or flow. So I just call miracle, the Course calls them miracles, I call it flow. The same thing, but I just think talking about letting go and flow is a little bit more accessible for people, and there's less chance of them misunderstanding the terminology. And then there's a manual for teachers, which is additional guidance and instructions for students to help them teach the Course, not necessarily by preaching it, but just through the way that they live the Course. So I promised to teach you to go through 3 secrets today. So let's get into those. 3 secrets that I'm talking about today. First one is the key to authentic happiness. We've talked about happiness and why you're not happy. So what's the key to authentic happiness? It's letting go, how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation, provoking them seems to be. Number 2, key to fulfilling flow. So how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. So this is really where the rubber meets the road. It's all very well being happy, but we have to operate, we have to function in life. So how do you do that in a poised way where you're enjoying your life, you're enjoying each moment, and you're able to take positive action to respond to any situation appropriately? And the 3rd secret is the key to true success. And I define true success as being happy and in flow in every aspect of your life. So it has to be holistic, it has to be every aspect, not just 1 or 2 aspects. And living an extraordinary, ordinary life that gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. So I'll unpack all of these now for you. So let's talk about secret number 1 first, the key to authentic happiness. So the first principle of this that you need to understand is that happiness or unhappiness is always experienced in your own mind. No one's experiencing your happiness for you, and nothing outside of you is really making you happy. Right? It's your perception of it, it's your interpretation of it that then gives you a happy or unhappy feeling in your own mind. So only your own negative thoughts and feelings can really make you unhappy. Something might trigger them outside of you, but it's your own negative thoughts and feelings about that thing that make you happy or unhappy. So those 2 premises are true, and they are true. You could dispute them, but it's actually very obvious and very clear that we are experiencing our happiness or unhappiness in our own minds, and that it's really only our own negative thoughts and feelings. No one else is making us unhappy. It's our response, our reaction to things that make us unhappy. So because those two things are true, therefore learning how to let go of your negative thoughts and emotions must be the key to your happiness. Follows logically. So a little case study on that. This is a chap by the name of Phil van den Heerfer. He's the older one, just in case you're wondering. Phil's in his 80s, and so he's been studying the Course in Miracles, he means, for over 27 years. And he did this trial Ask Letting Go course last year, and this was his comment at the end of the course. He said, I've learned more about the Course in the last 6 weeks than the last 27 years of studying it. So I took as a great compliment. And he said that learning how to forgive truly was one of the key benefits that he got out of the course. And he had a major breakthrough on the last day of the course after we did a holotropic breathing session, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But it's just a breathing process that helps you to go into a different state of mind. This was on the Friday we did the process. On the Saturday morning, I got this email from Phil. He said, I feel compelled to write to you. It's the end of the 6-week course. And really just shared an experience. He said that he played the track again that morning. So I had a music track, went along with this holotropic breathing process, played the track, and he did some breathing that morning. And what arose for him was this kind of grievance, what the Course in Miracles you call it grievance, that he held towards his parents. So he said, I had actually a very loving home. My parents were amazing. They didn't fight, they didn't swear. His mother was brilliant, but he never really acknowledged her. She had straight A's at school. She got a bursary to go to university. She taught high school English, and later in life she did book reviews. She even had a weekly column in the main newspaper in the town where he lived. But he wanted her to be something else. He said, God only knows what. He said during the replay this morning, so he was replaying this music track, he started realizing how just unfair and ungrateful he'd been, never acknowledging just how fortunate he was. And it was then that he had a catharsis. He broke down and he sobbed his heart out. In that long moment, he was able to forgive himself and also to ask his parents for their forgiveness. And he said, I've been carrying this baggage around all my life at a huge cost, his words. So thereafter, 6-week process and doing this holotropic breathing, he's had a major catharsis or breakthrough, and he's released something that he's been holding on to for his whole life since he was a child, which is pretty amazing. So learning how to let go of your negative thoughts and emotions is the key to your happiness. That opened the way for Phil and many others doing the course. Once they knew how to let go, happiness is yours. Because if you think about it logically, if only your negative thoughts and emotions are causing you to be unhappy, then letting go of them must be the key to your happiness. So it's actually quite simple. And yet this simple truth evades most people. This is not a truth that the world really acknowledges. So secret number 2, moving on, is the key to flow, fulfilling flow as I call it. So it's learning how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. So as I said, this is where the rubber meets the road. How do you remain poised and actually enjoying each moment of your life, but also being able to act responsibly, to respond appropriately to any situation? And if you can do that, then you can not only be happy, but you can actually be very productive and very effective in the world. So let's just talk a little bit about flow. I'm going to back up a bit because I've talked about flow, told you it's about happiness and peace and love. But I'm just going to go back to the founder of the concept, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He's written many books on it. He's the world's authority on it. And this is what he has to say about flow. He says, when we act freely for the sake of the action itself rather than for ulterior motives, if we learn to become more than what we were. So a couple of very interesting things there. It says when we act freely, so there's no ulterior motive. So the ego, this sense in us that we need to get something. We need to get something more than what we have. That's the ulterior motive. That's the ego. When we're in flow, we transcend that. We just act for the sake of the action itself because we're enjoying the moment. So it's a joy, it's the freedom of the action itself rather than the ulterior motive that's important. And when we do that, we learn to become more than what we thought we were. So there's this idea of knowing yourself, of coming to know who you really are, and flow connects you with that authentic or true self. And then this is a quote from Eckhart Tolle. He said, artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling, mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all, or at least is taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you, and yet one with you, in essence, takes over. There is no decision-making process anymore. Spontaneous right action happens, and you are not doing it. Mastery of life is the opposite of control. You become aligned with the greater consciousness. It acts, speaks, and does the works. So this, for me, is a great definition, a great explanation of this idea of flow. I told that story about me on the squash court when I was in flow. This was very much what I experienced. He's describing exactly the experience I had and other people have had. It's like some other power or intelligence takes over, and it's just doing it through you. You're just doing your thing, spontaneous right action happens, and you, the little self that's got all these ulterior motives, is not doing it. There's something else that's taken over. So this is mastery of life is the opposite of control. You become aligned with the greater consciousness. It acts, speaks, and does the works. So some very, very powerful principles here of flow. And this is clearly the way to be liberated, to be free, and to be extremely productive, to actually be very, very effective. This state is highly prized in sport, in the arts, because when someone enters the flow state, they perform at a much higher level. And obviously in sport, if you're playing for lots of money and prizes, then there's great reward in it. But it's not really about that. If you talk to any great sportsman, and they said this process, the process itself, is why they do it. It's for the joy of the process of doing it. It's not about the money and the titles. And then case study 2. So another case study. This is a guy called Wim Krubenau, also did the first Art of Letting Go course. So Wim shared this experience he had in the Facebook group that we have and still have, where he had a tennis match. So he likes to play a social game of tennis. He's playing against a friend who's slightly better than him, and he played badly. And he got extremely frustrated and irritated with himself because he really wanted to win, at least to set off it. And that desire meant that the irritation escalated and it snowballed. And he tried to force points, he made worse mistakes, and everything got worse. The whole match became a very unpleasant experience for him. And he says, looking back, I realized I should have tried to take a few deep breaths to get perspective on the ego strategy to belittle me and wants him to think thoughts of unworthiness, meaningless thoughts on winning, the importance of performing well. In the heat of the moment, it's quite difficult to hold momentum. So I struggle with my temper at times. The ego knows how to push my buttons. This hasn't happened in a long time. So I think there will be defeats along the way, but I mustn't harbor guilt and must forgive the circumstances and stay in the present. So he shared this. And then in one of our sessions, discussion sessions, we discussed this. And I shared my experience on the squash court with him. I shared the principles of flow. I told him how he could handle it differently next time, that he could just breathe. And just attitudinally, he could relax and go, well, it's really about enjoying it. It's not about winning, just about the joy of the process. And all credit to him, he applied that advice. And he managed to center himself. He breathed, as he says here, and I experienced peace. He played much better. He aimed just to take a set off him, but actually he won in 3 sets, which was the first time he'd ever done that. He actually beat him. So I realized that it wasn't about competition or winning. It was really about the experience. I was in flow. I really enjoyed it, and I was at peace. And he said, I experienced God's pleasure in me that day. So he got that phrase from a movie called Chariots of Fire, which is an old movie that was shown in the 80s. It was made in the 1980s about some Olympic athletes in the 1924 Olympics that were training for it. And there was one guy who was very religious. And he said when he ran, he would experience God's pleasure in it. And so that phrase came to Wim. And he said, also, I learned that I can choose to let go of anger, which doesn't work, and be at peace instead. So the idea of knowing yourself. So through this flow state, he started to come to know himself and to let go of anger, which isn't authentic, isn't who he really is, and find peace instead. So a very powerful experience. and a good illustration of this flow idea. So Wim managed to remain poised, he managed to enjoy the moment, and he took positive appropriate action. He was actually able to perform and play very well, which is the idea. So flow is not, by letting go of control doesn't mean that you suddenly become ineffective. Quite the opposite. You actually become a lot more effective and a lot more able to act positively and appropriately and responsibly in this world. Then secret number 3. Now, there are 3 aspects to secret number 3. So I'll just unpack each aspect. The first one is total fulfillment. So what's the key to total fulfillment? It's learning how to be happy and in flow. So the first 2 secrets combine to creating the 3rd secret in every aspect of your life, and live an extraordinary, ordinary life that gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. So I'm just going to unpack the first part of that statement is being happy and in flow. So this is the experience of Martin. Martin is a CEO of a medium-sized company in Nelspruit. He did the course last year, and at the end of the course, this was his testimonial. He said, I was able to apply most of the daily lessons on a day-to-day basis, helping me deal with some challenging situations, and I was calm due to meditation. For example, he gives a situation. Yesterday's situation where a client put the phone down in my ear has been replaced by peace. So he managed to find peace in the situation. He called him this morning, he apologized for his behavior, and I have also realized that I would have found peace whether he apologized or not. Very powerful stuff, this. To find letting go in a much different way to what I expected when I signed up for the course. Thank you. So he found a way to let go of it, to find peace, and the situation resolved itself, which is what we call a miracle. The client apologized, but it didn't matter to him because he let go of the need for the client to apologize or do anything. He'd found peace irrespective. So that's what he said was very powerful. So he was able to find happiness and flow in that situation, and a miracle came about, which was really just a positive resolution of that difficult situation. And the key to higher purpose. So it's the same phrase, the same key: learning how to be happy and in flow in every aspect of your life, and live an extraordinary, ordinary life. So that's really what higher purpose is about. So your purpose lies in finding flow in the moment, and finding that ordinary becomes extraordinary because you're in a different state. You're in a happy, flowing state, and life can be pretty extraordinary in that state. And it gives you and others, so this idea that it's not just about you, it's about sharing this happiness and this joy and this peace with other people, miraculous experiences. So these are expanded or flow experiences and results regularly. So another example, this is from 2,000 years ago. This is a story from the Bible. Given that Jesus is the teacher, he's written the course, and we're studying his teaching, I thought it was appropriate to take an example from his life. So you might be familiar with the story of Jesus and the adulteress. It goes like this. So Jesus was in the temple teaching one day, and there was a whole crowd, and the teachers of the law, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were always trying to trick him, brought this woman before him, and they said, Teacher, we found this woman, we've caught her in the act of adultery. And the law of Moses says that she should be stoned to death. What do you say? So they're trying to trick him. They're trying to trick him into saying no, and then they would say, well, you're denying the law of Moses. And they're probably hoping that the crowd would turn on him and maybe stone him to death too. So it was potentially a very tricky situation. Jesus handled it with absolute poise. So he ignored them to start with, and he was kneeling down, and he was writing something in the sand. And then they kept on asking. So he paused. That was probably just to give him time to collect his thoughts. He paused, he stood up, and he said one sentence. He said, let he who has never sinned cast the first stone. And one by one, all the people, and including the teachers of the law, dropped their stones, and they left. And at the end, there was only him and the woman left. And he said, is there anyone left to condemn you? She said, no, sir, there isn't. He said, neither then do I condemn you. Go in peace and sin no more. So a great story of how he managed to handle a very difficult situation, which could have turned very nasty, very ugly, He could have been hurt, she could have been hurt, they could have been killed. And with one sentence, he managed to defuse the whole situation. So that's an example of, a man in flow and also living his purpose. So he managed to save someone's life, and at the same time give people a very profound teaching that has come down to us 2,000 years later. I'm telling the story again. So if that's not higher purpose, I don't know what is. And then the third aspect of the secret is the key to true success. So that's being happy and in flow in every aspect of your life. So it needs to be in every aspect. Some people might find flow in one aspect of their life. So let's say they're very good sportsmen or they're very good in the boardroom, but often their personal lives and other aspects of their life are a disaster. And we see these people, often celebrities, sportsmen, etc., who have it in one area but not in another, and live an extraordinary ordinary life. So this idea that just your ordinary moments can be extraordinary, that you can find happiness, peace, flow in every moment, and that gives you and other people miraculous experiences and results regularly. So these miracles are when something is difficult, often when there's a potential for fear, for anger, for hatred, for all these negative emotions, and you manage to shift your state, and you change the experience for yourself and also for other people. Because as we've seen, when you change, you can potentially create change in others as well, just by demonstrating. So another case study of this idea of true success, which is Robin. Robin did the Art of Letting Go course last year, and at the end of the course, this was her feedback summary of her feedback. She said, "I've experienced peace, less anxiety, I sleep better, don't take painkillers anymore for stress headaches, have better relationships with my children, I'm not as frightened or worried." So pretty holistically, that the course improved every aspect of her life, and that's what true success is. In every aspect, you're more in flow, you're happier, and you've got a sense of a higher or transcendent purpose. She's a working mother, she's a normal person, she's in her late 40s, she's got 2 kids and a husband, so a very, very typical person, and she found that the course has changed her life, and it's continued to. She hasn't gone back into her old anxiety, she doesn't take painkillers anymore, her relationships continue to get better, and she said actually there's been some difficulties this year, but she just wouldn't have coped with if she'd been in her old state, but now she's able to cope because she's gone to a high level. So this video I'm showing you now was recorded a couple of months ago, so 7-8 months after the course finished, and I'll let her share what her experience still is having done the course. So when I say it's life-changing, she's a good testimonial for that.
Hi, my name's Robin. I did the course last year with Jonathan. I'd never heard of the course before. It was something entirely different to me, although I've been practicing meditation. I've been going to breathworks for some time, trying genuinely to find peace. I'm a mum, I work, I've got a normal busy life. I've been plagued with headaches, I've been plagued with sore necks and the normal problems that people have. I found that through the course and joining the online community, I found a group of like-minded people all exploring the course. The course is fundamentally different. At first I thought it was all about religion, which it wasn't, although it is about God, and I do believe in God, and it made a great deal of sense in my life that the only thing is really that we concentrate on is God. It's about finding love. It's about being kinder to people. I still listen to the teachings every day. I've found that by listening to the teachings and following the book and reading, I have become more compassionate. I've become a nicer person. I feel less guilty. I feel that the world is a different place. I don't feel that the world is always a good place. It's not. But I believe that it impacts me less. I used to be traumatized by the world. I used to lie awake and worry about things that are happening and my children and my life. And worry about my past and worry about the future, I've found that I've achieved a sense of peace. And if nothing else, I'm really grateful to Jono and the people I met on the course, because that sense of peace has helped me to heal many parts of my life. I no longer have headaches. I used to suffer with headaches. I used to have terrible neck pain that I was on painkillers on all the time. And honestly, those things have gone away. I don't take painkillers for my neck, and I don't have headaches anymore. My relationships with my children are much better, and my relationship with myself is a lot better. So in all, it's taken a lot of the jagged edges of life, and it's just made life more bearable. And if you think about it, we're probably going to be here for a long time. So if it continues to get more and more bearable, and as I say, each day I learn a new lesson, and it does make life a little bit different and a little bit better, and I see things a little bit more clearly. And that to me has been the biggest gift of the course.
So that's Robin's testimonial. Yeah, as I said, it really has changed her life. It's been a permanent change. She's not going back to the same state she was in, and that's really what it's all about. It's about changing one's life. So where to from here? So learning new information is necessary, but it's not a sufficient step for a true transformation of mind to happen. There are two ways to true transformation, which I'll talk about quickly. So the first is through intense pain and suffering, that you are forced to go within and break through suddenly to a new level of understanding and wisdom. And that's what we call the way of the cross. That's the old way. So it's about pain, and with enough suffering, eventually you're forced to change your mind. An example of that, I gave a quote by Eckhart Tolle. If you've read his book, The Power of Now, beginning of that, the introduction to it, he talks about his experience, his awakening experience. And he was very depressed when he was in his 20s, suicidally so. And he remembers lying awake in bed one night and just kind of going, I can't stand it. I can't stand this reality. I can't stand my life. He wanted to end it all. And then this thought of, I can't stand myself came into his mind. And he realized in that moment that there must be two selves, that there must be a true I, and there must be a self that he can't stand. And that kind of collapsed his mind into some kind of vortex. He passed out, and he woke up the next morning and he was awake. He just saw everything differently. He was happy, he was free, he was light. And that's how he woke up. And he basically let go of everything. He let go of his material life, ended up on a park bench. But he was happy, and he slowly started teaching people. And he's become a world famous teacher. He's been teaching people for since then, for 40 odd years. He's written books, so he reintegrated. But that he had to go through a lot of pain and suffering to do that. So that's not necessarily the best way. I think there's always an element of pain and suffering that makes us grow. Otherwise, why would we look? Why would you have shown up for the webinar if you weren't looking for something? If you were totally satisfied, then there's no seeking. And then number two, secondly, the second way is through conscious discipline practice of spiritual ideas and techniques. You can systematically grow in understanding and wisdom. And this is what I call the way of mastery. So this is also a very well-established way. There have been spiritual paths and spiritual practices for forever. One of the oldest ones is yoga. That's been around for over 2,000 years. These are the ideas that you can, through practicing these ideas and these techniques, you can grow your understanding, you can grow your wisdom, you can raise your consciousness. And you can do it systematically and progressively. It doesn't have to be this kind of massive pain and then breakthrough. So that's the way we're going to talk about tonight. Principles of transformation through mastery. First of all, understanding and realization through your personal experience. It has to be personal. It's not just book learning. You have to experience it. It does require your active willingness and also disciplined effort. And it involves doing key spiritual practices. So, for example, forgiveness, or letting go, as I prefer to call it, breathing and meditation. These are three key spiritual practices that if you practice them regularly, they will start to change your mind. They will start to bring about a profound shift in your mind and your life. And it can be greatly facilitated by another person or group who help to raise the initiate's consciousness. So by initiate, I just mean anyone who's on this journey. That's just transformational language. So if you choose to go on this, you're an initiate. By transmitting positive energy and holding him or her accountable. So just in this group, there's 4 of us online. There's a transmission of energy, even though we're not in the same room. We hundreds or even thousands of miles apart. There's a transmission of energy. And during the Art of Letting Go course that I ran last year, there were people who were thousands of miles apart. There were people in South Africa, I was in the UK, and there were other people in the US. And it is a transmission of energy, because energy is not related to time and space. It transmits over distance. And there's also this idea of holding someone accountable. So if you're doing this process with a group, you're far more likely to hold yourself accountable and do the process than if you're just on your own. That's just human nature. And that accountability is essential to get people to actually do the practices. If you're not doing the practices, you don't get the benefit. So immersion in these key spiritual practices and this positive field of consciousness that gets created when we join together as a group online using this Zoom technology accelerates the process of transformation. So those are the principles on which the Art of Letting Go course is based. And this idea of immersion learning. So immersion learning is traditionally associated with language teaching programs. So the traditional language teaching programs teach the second language as a subject to be learned. But this idea of language immersion focuses more on the second language being a tool, which is used to immerse the student completely in the subject. So for example, if you want to learn French, language immersion would say, go to France, do a cookery course, do a French cookery course, and study the French culture in the French language. And if you do that for 3 months, you will have learned French through this immersion process, because you'll be in French, you'll be in France, and you'll immerse yourself in the French culture by using the language. So it's a much more powerful way of learning. So transformation is really like learning a new language, but it's more difficult because you have to learn fundamentally new ideas and beliefs rather than just words and information. So it's a new paradigm, it's a new way of thinking and perceiving everything, which can be challenging. And these key spiritual practices are the tools of your transformation, and your life is the subject. Okay? So key spiritual practices are the language, your life becomes the subject that you're studying, and you find that you get a much greater effect if you approach it this way than if you just kind of go, oh, right, I'm going to learn some principles. You have to apply it into your life. So application is 90% of it. So just an overview. I've talked a bit about the Art of Letting Go course. I'll give you a quick overview, a bit of information about it now, so that you're clear on what it's all about. So it's a facilitated 6-week mind and life transformation process. It happens online, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your office or home. It's a transformation process based on the way of mastery and immersion learning. And the key spiritual practices include online discussion and meditation sessions, conscious breathing, self-study, also solo meditation. So all of that's incorporated. Now I'll go through how it's structured now. The goal is really to help you to learn to let go of negative stress thoughts and emotions whenever they arise, so that you can find these are the results that the Art of Letting Go course will deliver, which are the same as the secrets. So authentic happiness, number 1. You'll know how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation. Provoking them appears to be, and choose to be happy instead. Not saying it was easy, but once you know, once you've got the knowledge, sooner or later, a part of your mind will go, well, hang on, you know that you can let go of this. You know that you can let go of this negative thought or emotion. You have the way, you know the teaching, so do it. And so sooner or later you will. It may not be instantaneous, but the idea is that the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So by the end of the 6 weeks, you'll certainly have that knowledge. You will know how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation, provoking it appears to be. Just a reminder, Phil's case study, he learned more in the 6 weeks of the course in the last 27 years of studying A Course in Miracles. He learned how to forgive truly. That was what he said his key benefit was. And he let go of negative emotional baggage around his parents, and most people have something around their parents. So he'd been carrying that for over 70 years after only 6 weeks of immersion in the Art of Letting Go course. And that was his email. If you remember, he had that catharsis on the last day of the course. So it was like that 6-week process. It wasn't just the holotropic breathing that did it for him. It was the whole process that unlocked that. And that's why you do a 6-week immersion process, because at the end of it, you can get these kind of shifts. So Art of Letting Go, of course, the results. Second result is fulfilling flow in your daily activities. So you'll know how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. So this is about where the rubber meets the road, how you actually operate in life in a very enjoyable and productive and effective way. So another example, Lauren Relaford, she's from the US, said, I asked these to people to ask and answer these questions to themselves at the end of every evening. So how did I handle, or could I have handled this challenging situation? Specify applying the art of letting go, and what did I learn today? And so she reflected on her day, and this was a reflection. So I practiced my breath. This was a trip that I had coming up today. I left myself a bunch of small things to do the day before. Felt that I didn't have enough time to get it all done. Used the deep diaphragmatic breaths throughout the morning and afternoon. No mantras, no thoughts, just deep breaths. I'd said in one of my emails that controlling the breath controls the mind. Said I lived on that yesterday. My mind was at peace. I did all I wanted to do with zero mental fuss or chatter. Peace is real for me these days. Thank you. So there she's describing a flow experience. She's describing how she managed to handle what could have been a very difficult situation that might have freaked her out in a flowing way just by breathing. And she found this state of flow, and that was very fulfilling. And she found peace. And then result number 3 is total fulfillment, higher purpose, and true success. So you'll start experiencing more happiness and flow in every aspect of your life. Start living an extraordinary, ordinary life. It gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly and consistently. So just a couple to remind you, a couple of case studies about that. So Martin found peace in that difficult situation with his client when the client put the phone down his ear. He managed to find peace anyway, irrespective of what happened, and the situation did resolve itself. He said very powerful stuff. So when you handle a situation like that, it can be very fulfilling. There's also a sense of purpose. So Vim's experience on the tennis court, this ordinary tennis match, became an extraordinary experience for him. He experienced God's pleasure in it. And he also learned a powerful lesson that he can let go of anger and he can choose to be at peace instead. And then Robin, success in her life. She's more peaceful. She has less anxiety. She sleeps better. She's off painkillers. Her stress, headaches, and tension and back pain have gone. She's got better relationships with her children, and she's not as frightened or worried. And that all came about as a result of her participation in the Art of Letting Go course. So it really has been life-changing for her. So to summarize, result 1, you'll be authentically happy just by knowing how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation provoking them appears to be, and just choose to be happy instead. Result number 2 is doing. So you'll do your daily activities in flow. You'll know how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. And number 3, you'll experience this total fulfillment, higher purpose, and true success. By experiencing happiness and flow in every aspect of your life, you start to live an extraordinary, ordinary life. It gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. So you can start to do extraordinary things. You can start to perform at a level that most people can't dream of, because you're in flow, because you're in a state where you've let go and you trust in that this higher power is going to guide you, rather than trying to control and operate from the lower self, the ego, which is always about what you can get out of the situation. And it's always there's always fear and there's always control. So be to start with, then do, and then have or experience. Be, do, have. Whereas in traditional, in the way most people think about life, you need to have something. So I need to have a nicer car. I need to have a better home. I need to have a relationship. In order to do certain things, well, then I can live a better lifestyle, and that's going to make me happy. So it's all upside down thinking. It starts with the being. You have to be then you do, and then you experience, which is the correct order of priorities. So can you see why letting go is a critical skill? Because letting go leads to a state of authentic happiness, leads to, if you're happy, you can be in flow. And if you have flow, you can be fulfilled, you can find a sense of purpose. And if you're doing all of that, it's very difficult to argue that you're not truly successful. So it all starts with letting go. If you can't let go, then you can't be happy. If you're not happy, then the state of flow is not accessible for you. And if there's no flow, then life becomes a grind and a struggle. There's no fulfillment, there's no sense of purpose, and there's no true success. Even if outwardly you might be seen to be successful, if you're not in flow, you're not going to see it as true success. It's not going to be happy success for you. So, who does this work for? I'd say anyone over the age of about 30. And that's not a hard and fast rule, but it just generally research shows that people under the age of 30 are still very much externally oriented. They're still looking for things outside of themselves to make them happy. They think that making more money, having a better career, finding Mr. or Mrs. Right, having kids is the answer. Because we're conditioned to believe that. And it's only once we start to see the limitations of that thinking for ourselves, and we suffer a little bit, that we start to open up to these ideas that there's something more. So, as I said, not a hard and fast rule. If you happen to be under 30 and you really want to do this, I'm not going to say no. But generally people are only ready for it when they hit their 30s. I certainly, it was in my late 20s that I really had a letting go experience, and then I started to really study this stuff and get interested in my 30s. And if you want to experience more happiness, more authentic happiness, more fulfilling flow, more fulfillment, higher purpose, and true success in your life. See, someone's raised their hand. Okay, well, let's see. Tando, where are you? Is Tando gone? Okay, maybe he had to leave. Tando, you still there? Okay, don't know. I can see 3 attendees, but he's not. No all hands. Okay, well, we'll just crack on. I don't know if he's gone. And you also need to be willing to open your mind to a very different way of thinking and commit about 2 hours per day to doing the course, Key Spiritual Practices, over a period of about 6 weeks. So you have to put in some time and effort into this. And I'll just unpack that. 2 hours a day, I know sounds like a lot, but it's not actually. Because I'm going to show you how you can basically get away with about 45 minutes. So what are the key spiritual practices? It's a 1 hour or 40-minute guided letting go meditation in the morning. There's 5 1-minute breath breaks combined with practicing the simple mind training lesson for the day from the Course in Miracles workbook from week 2 onwards. There's 2 group discussion and guided meditation sessions, lunchtime and evening. There's 15 minutes of reading, 1 section of the Course in Miracles text every evening. And there's a pre-bed review of the day and also a power sleep meditation. So those are the practices that we can do in the course. Structure, there's an introduction, so exploring the theory behind the Art of Letting Go course, reading and discussing the first chapter of the text, working through the processes and exercises in the Art of Letting Go course manual. So that's kind of the introduction, and then weeks 2 to 6 we work through the text, Course in Miracles text and workbook, work through the first 35 lessons of the workbook, chapters 2 to 5 of the text, longer guided meditations during the evening discussion sessions, and there's a holotropic breathing session at the end of it to conclude. Dates, it starts Sunday the 15th of September, ends on Sunday the 27th of October, so it's just over 6 weeks. And the discussion sessions will be held on weekdays, so Monday through to Friday, 12:30 to 1:15 UK time, 1:30 to 2:15 South African time. And in the evenings from 8:15 to 9:15, slightly longer in the evenings, that's UK time, 9:15 to 10:15 South African time. So it's good preparation for bed. Saturday afternoons will be 1 session on the weekends, and Saturday afternoons for an hour from 1:30 to 2:30 South African time. So that's the structure. So you might be thinking, I don't have time. Like typically when I say it's going to take 2 hours, most people say, there's no way I can fit 2 hours. into my daily schedule. So one of the answers to that is to watch less TV. If you watch TV, you watch TV for an hour in the evening, just don't do it. Go to bed an hour earlier, do the discussion session, go to bed an hour earlier, so you can get up an hour earlier to meditate in the morning. So that effectively creates an hour by going to bed earlier. You create an hour for meditation in the morning, swapping TV, which tells you your vision, for meditation, which is a very good trade in spiritual terms. And then you can integrate the other key spiritual practices into your daily routine to make you more effective and productive. So you can take breath breaks and do discussion sessions during your lunch. For example, Martin, CEO I mentioned, he just scheduled time, said from 1:30 to 2:15, he wasn't to be disturbed. He went in his office and he treated it as though it was a business meeting. That's the way he made the time. You can make this over your lunch break. So if you take lunch, just take that time for your lunch break. You can eat at the same time. So instead of just, hovering around, being on your phone or whatever, you're actually using that time constructively and productively. Or you can do it as pre-bed preparation. So if you're doing the discussion session in the evening, it's a very nice way to start winding down. You do a little relaxation meditation, kind of get you into that nice pre-bed sleepy state, and then you go to bed. And a lot of people said they slept a lot better during the course. You might also say, I'm not ready for this yet. So I'd say if you're over 30, that's just an excuse to avoid taking responsibility for your own happiness, flow, fulfillment, purpose, and success. In case you haven't realized already, no one else is responsible for these things. Only you can do this for yourself. And your life isn't going to last forever. 20 years go by very quickly. There's someone in my family who has been wanting to write a book for over 20 years, 25 years. She still hasn't done it. She's been procrastinating for a very, very long time. And I just wonder if she'd done it 20 years ago, how different her life might be now, because she's now sort of hit a point where she's been very dissatisfied with her life and her job, and she's kind of stuck. And if she'd taken some action 20 years ago, that may not be the case. So carpe diem, seize the day. Life doesn't last forever, it goes by very quickly. And we'll give you all the tools and the support that you need to do this. So you're not on your own. It's a facilitated, guided, supported process. So I'm going to talk quickly about the tools that you get. There's the Art of Letting Go course information and exercise pack. So you get a whole information exercise pack, which is about 50 pages, which includes a 10-step letting go process outline and a written worksheet. As I said, I promised to send you the 10-step letting go process outline, which I'll do tomorrow. There's instructions for 5 shorter letting go processes for quick release. So the 2-step letting go process, if you haven't got those instructions, I'll give them to you, and a few others. They're called Ho'oponopono, which is very powerful, because sometimes we need to do things on the fly. We need to do things very quickly. 2 documents to help you understand the theory behind this. Robin said one of them is brilliant. So just summarizing really what A Course in Miracles is teaching, and getting you to understand it a lot more quickly and easily. There's a worksheet for the Name Your Game exercise. So that's an exercise to understand who you really are by helping you to get some negative feedback. There's worksheets for the blueprint for your higher self and purpose exercise. So that's how to take that feedback and create a blueprint for your higher self and your true purpose. There's some extra transformational and mind training exercises, 12 pathways to higher consciousness, which is very powerful. There's a map of consciousness to help you navigate the levels of your mind. The daily schedule planner to help you structure your ideal day. So it's kind of a paradox, because you want to flow, but if you have a little bit of structure, it helps you to flow. If you have absolutely no structure, it quite often just degenerates into chaos. And there's many inspirational quotes and even some poetry. So there's a lot in that course information and exercise pack. So I value that at £20. Then you get the Letting Go Meditation Power Pack, which includes how to letting go theta meditation. So there's a 1-hour version of that and a 40-minute version. You can see what Mike, who's someone who did the course, Letting Go trial course, had to say about it. He said, I think you run a fantastic course. The model of daily meditation is a really good one. It's everyone really engaged, helps to make you feel that you're really completely immersed. Do you think it is a fantastic process that you have brilliantly for the day? And then the power sleep track, which is designed to be used at night before you go to bed. I think I had the best night's sleep I've had in a long time, woke up refreshed and willingness to start a new day. Thank you for the course on finding it the most helpful. That was Patricia, who also did the course. There's a letting go meditation power pack, valued at £20. Then there's a holotropic breathing. So remember Phil's experience, but some other people had it. So people did the breathing on their own, and I just gave them the guidance using this technology through Zoom, and they listened to the music. And it worked pretty well. Robin said she really enjoyed it. She went to many events in her life saying thank you and asking for forgiveness. And this was a lady in the UK, some only sessions in the UK. And then Phil had this breakthrough experience that was really triggered by the holotropic breathing and the music particularly. So in the UK, I was charging £15 for a 90-minute session. Then you get access to the Facebook group. You've seen a couple of slides of that. So there's a lady called Bali who also did the first course. At the end of it, she was like, how are withdrawal symptoms? You realize how spoiled I've become. John, I posting lessons and reminders every day, already missing it. So I had to take a break to just consolidate and put this all together and try and run another course that was financially viable. And then so £1 a day, valuing that at 6 weeks access. And you get some daily reminders, reminder emails and WhatsApp messages if you want some WhatsApp messages, which give you the lessons and the text from the Course in Miracles to read every day. So you don't need to buy the book. It's all available. It's open source online. So I send you the links. It reminds you to stop for a breath break and do the daily lesson. And this is what Vim had to say. So thank you for all your emails and all the time and hard work. Appreciate it hugely. So these make a big difference. So the idea with the Course in Miracles is that you stop periodically and you do 3 or 4 little mind training exercises just for a minute or two. But it's very easy to forget. So the idea is that these messages will remind you to do that. So value those at £1 a day each for the WhatsApp and for the emails. You get 60 hours of live discussion and meditation sessions, which is really the crux of the course. So we come together twice a day to discuss the lessons, do some guided meditation together. And that kind of glues the whole course together. And everyone enjoyed those sessions immensely. This is what Mike had to say about it. Said course structure is great. Really like doing 2 calls a day because there's a different vibe in the 2 and different people. You gain a lot out of them. Things taught my teaching was very good. Discussing things at length. So yeah, it's facilitated, but sometimes I have to kind of get things going. So I talk and teach about the principles. I think you do a great job keeping the flow, finding an aspect to talk about. Many of the texts are very enlightening. Really do respect and perspective drive and teaching skills. I think your process is amazing. You have great results for me. The in-call meditations are really amazing. Find your meditation practice into one of the course content really works well. So yeah, just do some meditation and then we actually meditate on the lesson for the day. He said these little guided meditations in the lesson for today often show me things I would not have picked up before. They give the space to do it differently. Most of all, I've really enjoyed being connected with people all over the world, hearing different perspectives. And then Vim said there's a powerful dynamic in doing the course material together as a group and sharing energy. So that idea of a positive field of energy, sharing it, and accountability, it really does make a difference. So I value those at £10 a session, so £600 value. Plus you get some free bonuses. So there's about 60 hours of video and audio recordings. So all the Zoom sessions are recorded on both video and audio. So that's made available to you via the Facebook group. And from the first trial course, there's about 70 hours video and audio recordings. So all of that's available to you too. You're effectively getting a double whammy, 2 for +1. This is what Robin had to say. She said, I download and listen to the audio session each day on route to work. Just being in the session that way, listening to what's said and shared collapses time for me. All the negative stressful thoughts that used to preoccupy my mind in that commute are now not there. I'm listening, applying ideas. And she still does that. She still listens to me. So there's a lot of ongoing value in these sessions. So that's an example of a video shared in the Facebook group. There's Robin and Martin. So about 130 hours of video and audio recordings of discussion sessions during both the first and the second Ask, Let and Go courses. So just valued it at £2, £1 for each video, £1 for each audio. And then you also get 7 weeks access beforehand to the Ask, Let and Go Facebook group. So I'll be posting things on there regularly. You get access to all these recordings. So there's a value to that as well. So when you remember what Bali had to say. So there's that plays a great part in the course. So all of those tools worth over £1,000, nearly £1,100. Don't worry, I'm not going to charge you that. So just talk about the investment. The total value is nearly £1,100. Normally it's £197, but you may have noticed when you signed up that you got a free trial voucher for £100. Well, I've decided to double that up and made that into an early bird discount as well. So that discounts the price to £97, and that's actually that's valid. I'll extend that till the end of the month, so it's valid for slightly more than 27 hours, and it's a 91% discount to value. So you're getting a lot of extra value in there. I hope you can see that. Just to do a little value comparison, I did some research. So there's obviously other courses online that are being sold. There's an online course based on A Course in Miracles where you get 2 hours a week of pre-recorded video and audio content for $289. So that's about 4,000 Rand. Personal Transformation Weekend Workshop run in the UK as well as in South Africa. It's about 25,000 Rand. That's just an intense weekend from Friday night through to Sunday evening. There's nothing thereafter. There's a 9-week online transformational course. Also just recorded video and audio content going for $497. And then you compare. Art of Letting Go course, standard course is £97, which equates to 1,700 Rand. There's also a mastery course, which I won't go into much detail about tonight, but if you're interested, happy to chat about it afterwards in the questions, quick Q&A session, and there's more information online. Let's see, it includes some one-to-one coaching. So that can often be very helpful for people if they're doing this kind of work to have some one-on-one time. So if you want that, that's available. It's $397. Plus you get some extra sessions as well. So there's about 30 odd hours of extra time involved, in 26 hours involved in that. So Martin might have been a good candidate for a mastery course. In the first one, I didn't run a mastery course, but he really liked the extras. So the Name Your Game exercise, the Blueprint Builder exercise, these are all things that you're going to do in the mastery course because you can't do those exercises with a lot of people. There's sort of maximum of 12 people because it involves giving feedback individually. So that's why it's reserved for the mastery course. So what you might be thinking is, I can't afford this. That's normally why people don't do courses like this. See it as a luxury, not a necessity. So what I'd say in answer to that is, it's your happiness, it's your life, it's your flow, it's your success, your fulfillment, your purpose. No one else is going to do it for you. Really, if you say that you don't want to do this, you're saying you're not worth it. Don't devalue yourself in this way, because action is the most powerful form of affirmation. So by paying for the course, what you're really telling yourself is that you're worthy of all of it. And it's an important point. If people do things for free, they tend not to value it. That's just human nature, unfortunately. If you pay for something, you tend to put a value on it. And by definition, you value yourself because you're saying, I'm worth it. I'm worth investing, which is an essential part of the transformation process. And it also ensures that you value and pay attention to what you're learning. So apart from the financial side of it, there's a transformation side of it. So when you do this and you commit to it, you've got some skin in the game. It makes you commit. It makes you pay much more attention, and generally you learn better as a result. a couple of other solutions. Your free trial voucher entitles you to a 3-week free trial and money back guarantee. So if you decide you'd rather not continue with the course in the first 3 weeks, you'll get a full refund. So case study on that, Mike Farewell, you've seen a couple of his testimonials, which are very positive. He actually left the first course about 18, 19 days into it. Because there was an aspect of it that contradicted a belief of his. He wasn't willing to give up that belief. He'd been studying something called the Western Mystery School, and he found it contradicted that, and he couldn't deal with it. So he left the course, even though he got a lot of value from it. So a couple of other people also left the course. So they all did it in the first 3 weeks. So if you decided to leave it, you'd get a full refund, because I don't want to take your money and you felt like you didn't get value. Thirdly, you can earn 20% referral fee. So if you people you refer to this webinar end up doing the course, you will get 20% referral fee, and 5 referrals will more than pay for your place on the standard course. So you can earn your way into this. You can also win a place on the mastery course by just being the top referrer. If you refer some people and you end up being the person who refers the most people, there's a place on the mastery course for free. And you can also pay a £19 deposit, 330 Rand deposit today to lock in the early bird discount until August. And you'll get instant access to the Meditation Power Pack, the Art of Letting Go course information pack, and the Facebook group. So it's kind of dip your toe in the water, get a sense of it. You can start using the meditation. You can go on the Facebook group. You can look at the discussion sessions. You can read the course information, an exercise pack, and you can get a sense of it, and then decide in the next week whether it's for you or not. And finally, I'd say, can you afford not to do this? Life is short, doesn't go on forever, and we need to make the most of it. So this poem kind of captures that sentiment beautifully, so I'll read it out. It's one of my favorite poems by a lady called Donna Markova. I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. It's really a call to try and live our life on purpose, to try and live a bigger life, to try and live a life where we give to others, where we feel like we're making a valuable contribution, and we find a sense of purpose and happiness in doing that. And if not now, then when? So if you want to get started now, just to summarize, to do the standard course single, it's £97 or 1,700 Rand. Your total value is well over £1,000. So you're getting £1,000 of extra value, which is 17,300 Rand equivalent. If you want to do the mastery course and you want to have a chat to me about it, just stay on the line afterwards. I'll explain it. There's also a lot more information online on the website about the mastery course. And so that's 397 or 6,900 Rand. And again, you can see a lot of extra value there. Or you can just dip your toe in the water for now, pay the £19 or 330 Rand, and you will get access to the Facebook group. You'll get the Art of Letting Go course pack. You'll get the Meditation Power Pack. And it's also a deposit, so you don't lose that. That's the deposit for the course. If you decide to do the course, then you would pay 97 less 19. So sign up for the course. Just go to thealg.club. I'll put that in the chat for you so that you've got it. Just copy and paste that into your browser, and it'll take you straight there. So you can do it by credit or debit cards. We accept MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and American Express. It's all secure, powered by Stripe, who are one of the world's leading online payment providers. Or if you want to, you can pay into a South African or UK account. So complete the post-course survey. There's also a course registration form as part of that form. At the end of that process, you'll be given our bank details, and you can pay into either a South African or UK account. And the correct amounts you'll get as well at the end of that process. So fairly straightforward, a couple of ways to pay. So that brings me pretty much to the end. Just one final closing slide. You might recognize the scene. It's the pill scene in the movie The Matrix. There's Neo, who's the initiate, who's come to Morpheus, who's the teacher, and Morpheus is saying to him, well, now's the time to make a choice. He's offering him choice. He's giving him the blue pill on the one hand and the red pill on the other. He's saying, if you take the red pill, I will show you I'll show you what the Matrix is. I'll take you down the rabbit hole, show you how far down the rabbit hole goes. If you take the blue pill, you forget all about this, you wake up and you believe whatever you want to believe. So that's really the choice that faces you. You could choose to ignore this, to go, that was a nice webinar, great, and carry on with your life, not do anything about it, or you could choose to take the red pill and go down the rabbit hole with me as your guide and Jesus, who is possibly the most powerful spiritual teacher in history, to show you who you really are, what it's all about, and ultimately find what you're really looking for. And what you think you're looking for is happiness, and flow and love and joy and peace and all those good things. And those are really results. What we're all really looking for is the truth. It's the truth of who we are, the truth of reality. What is true reality? And as Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So that's what this course will show you. The 6 weeks will reveal that to you. There's not holding anything back, and it will give you another way of living, another way of being and living your life, which will allow you to find happiness, to find flow, to find fulfillment, purpose, and be truly successful in your life. Because if you're happy and you're in flow and you're enjoying your life, then you are truly successful. That's what true success is about. And you might be able to create some amazing results for yourself as well on the material level, but those will just come as a natural consequence of your flow state. So it's up to you. Which way will you choose? You're going to take the red pill. If you want to take the red pill, then sign up to the course. There is a time limit on the discount. So the early bird discount is not going to be available after the 1st of August. So any questions? That brings me to the end. Let me just see if I can unmute you guys. Caitlin, you still with me? Any questions, guys?
Hi, yes, I'm still with you.
Great. Any questions about anything that I've talked about? Anything else you want to know? Anything wasn't clear?
No, everything was crystal clear. Very interesting.
Okay.
Quite interested. I just have to find a way how to sponsor it. But yes, I am very much interested in the course.
Okay. So as I said, there's the early bird discount, which is valid until the end of the month, so another 6 days. So thereafter, I'm going on a whole international marketing campaign. It's going to go up. So if you can do it in the next 6 days, that would be great. You can also refer people. So if you refer a few people, that could pay your fee. There's a number of ways of doing this, which are detailed in the presentation. I will send you a link to this because it's all recorded. I'm going to upload it tonight. So I'll send you a link once that's done so you can watch it again. You can go through the whole thing again. You can see the presentation again. And if you have any questions, if you think of anything, just let me know.
All right.
Great. Well, thank you for joining.